Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Veil. I'm Josh and with me is my brilliant friend Joanne. Today we are diving into a topic that sparked debates for millennia. Was Jesus God, the Son of God, or both? And what does it mean when he said, "Be like me and do greater works"?
And here's the twist, Josh. We're exploring how ancient beliefs about human divinity connect to modern ideas of manifestation, collective consciousness, and even quantum physics. So I'll say, let's buckle up.
Absolutely, Joanne. This isn't just about dusty old texts or abstract philosophy. We're talking about humanity's operating system here. If ancient wisdom and cutting edge science are both pointing to the same truth, that we are wired for divinity, what happens when we finally hit update on that software? Let's unpack it.
So Josh, in ancient Egypt, they talked about the ka, which was the soul, and that the divine spark was within us. I think it was even the Hindus that talked about the Atman, which was the true self with the Brahman. So correct me if I'm wrong. But what I do know is that even the Bible says in Genesis 1:27 that we're made in God's image. So with all these traditions pointing to the divine essence in us, why do you think that today so many of us feel so disconnected?
You are hitting on something primal here. We are told we are made in God's image, but then handed a rule book that says, don't touch this, don't question that, just stay small. It's like giving someone a Lamborghini and saying, but only drive it in a first gear. No wonder we feel disconnected. If every tradition agrees we are divine at the core, why did we swap self-realization for self-flagellation? Is it fear? Control? Or did we just forget how to read the manual?
So we can think about it this way. It's like Hinduism, right? Where people feed the deities through rituals and devotion. The energy isn't just symbolic, it's actually very real. There's a sociologist by the name of Emily Durkheim. What she called it was the collective effervescence. When people come together in a shared belief, what happens is that it creates a lot of power. So even Carl Jung called it the collective unconsciousness, where universal archetypes like gods or saviors shape the inner and outer worlds. And then there's the recent thought that I've been exposed to recently is the egregore. And what that is that's a kind of energetic entity or thought form that's literally created and sustained by group focus and belief. So when people pour their attention, their fear, their worship or devotion into something, it takes on a life of its own. And that's the power of collective energy.
This is why I'm obsessed with pop culture, its modern mythology. Think about how fandoms pour energy into superheroes or celebrities. They're not just fan clubs. They're creating something. A Marvel movie isn't just a movie anymore. It's a collective ritual. So if we can manifest Tony Stark as a cultural egregore, what could we do if we redirected that energy towards, say, global healing? Scary thought? What egregores are we already feeding without realizing it?
So Josh, here's where things get a little bit wild. In quantum physics, there's this idea that particles don't exist in a fixed state, that they exist in what's called probabilities until they are observed. I found out that this is called the observer effect. So just the act of looking at it changes how it behaves. Kind of sounds like a child, right? Sometimes when they're misbehaving, you're looking at them and they change the way they behave. So what if the collective belief kind of works the same way? What if our shared focus, our attention, our emotion, our intention collapses reality into that specific form? So I'm not saying that we're necessarily quantum physics here, but I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing surprises me anymore, actually. But isn't that an interesting metaphor, right? It makes you wonder if things we give our energy to, like gods, systems, fears, even our identities, start to crystallize into our lived experience. Not because they're necessarily real in some objective way, but it's because enough people believe them into being. I think about how, according to your faith, be it unto you, as a man thinks, so is he. That's kind of like along the lines that I'm going on right now. What do you think?
I love this. It's like the universe is a cosmic TikTok and our attention is the algorithm. We are literally shaping reality with our focus. But here's the kicker. If observing a particle changes it, what happens when we stop observing the dumpster fire of the 24/7 news cycle and start observing, say, our potential? Maybe the observer effect is the ultimate life hack. Side-eye social media.
So how do we actually become like Jesus or be like Jesus? Well, there's this philosopher called Pierre de Chardin who talked about something called the awaken point. And this is the idea that we're evolving towards a higher state of consciousness, towards divine unity. But here's the thing though. Religion taught most of us to worship instead of becoming. It told us to hand over our power to Jesus, to God, to the Father, to pastors, and essentially to external authorities, rather than realize that the same divine spark lives within us. And Josh, you know what he's reading? I was taught to pray to Jesus, depend on Jesus, and essentially say, Jesus, take the wheel, as if I had nothing of value within myself. That kind of belief system trains you to doubt your own inner compass. It convinces you that someone had to die for you, that you're unworthy. But what if the entire message was never about worshiping a man, but about awakening Christ consciousness inside yourself? You and the religious people. So when I say I'm done outsourcing my power, I mean I'm not done waiting for a savior. I'm done believing I'm broken unless someone else says I'm redeemed. I'm done bypassing my own wisdom because I was taught to bow down to someone else. The real question now is, what does it look like when I embody the same level of love, courage, and truth, and the divine connection that Jesus had? Not as a follower, not as a worshiper, but as a fully conscious being who knows my worth.
Mic drop, Joanne. This is where religion and spirituality split. Religion says kneel. Spirituality says rise. But here's the paradox. Jesus didn't say worship me forever. He said follow me. As in, walk this path until you don't need me anymore. So, when did faith become about outsourcing our agency instead of igniting it? If Christ consciousness is just a fancy term for peak human, why are we still waiting for permission to activate it?
And if God is really just the ultimate expression of our higher self, maybe our real purpose isn't to chase some outside deity, but to become that higher self in action. Maybe it's on us to collectively manifest a wiser, more compassionate world. One choice, one truth, and one act of kindness and courage at a time. I would like to thank you for being here, Josh, and for everybody who joined us today.
This is a revolution they never taught us in Sunday school. Not burning down institutions, but building up our innate powers. If God is the ocean, we are not drops in it. We are waves, meant to rise, crash, and reshape the shore. Huge thanks to Joanne to blowing mind today, folks. Until next time, stop praying, start being peace.